It's a high drive center field. Beer leans back. This game is turned upside down. Pujols into the air. It's deep to left. Taylor's back at the wall. It's 700.
On fly ball. Deep right. There it goes. Soaring into history.
Fastball hit to left. It is long gone.
Welcome to Swing for Contact's Baseball Podcast. It's episode 16. It is May 6th, 2023. We are officially 1 full month in, finally. The standings are starting to take shape on who's contenders and who is definitely not. Today we got Noah and Aiden. Guys, how are we doing today?
Doing so good.
Okay, Aiden. Fantastic. We are firmly, kind of in the finals process of school and college and whatnot. Noah, you had a test this morning on a Saturday. How'd that go?
I made a 58, and it's going to replace my lowest exam grade for the year, so that's good.
And your lowest exam grade was a
50.
What class was it?
Statistics.
Okay, so not like a major class, just your math class that you don't have to have a great score in.
Yeah.
Look at the AL East. We got the Tampa Bay Rays still holding on to their firm grasp off their hot start, but the Baltimore Orioles sitting in second place. The Red Sox just a game behind Baltimore, Toronto, and then the Yankees are currently fifth in that division. What's the take on the AL East so far?
It's would y'all say surprising to say the least, because I think mine is kind of completely flipped. I wouldn't say Tampa Bay in last, but maybe in that third or fourth spot. I don't know. I'm getting really sick and tired of Tampa Bay, though. They keep on winning, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, well, if it makes you feel any better, they have lost 3 of their last 10, so they're starting to maybe come back to reality a little bit. They're no longer above 800 in their winning percentage, so maybe they'll get under 700 at some point. The interesting thing about the AL East to me right now is that all 5 teams are still over 500, which I think could still kind of come even back out a little bit more. Obviously, everybody playing everyone, I think, kind of favors them, because I do think they have, as a division, they have more quality teams than the other divisions. I think all 5 of their teams are quality teams, whereas some divisions can definitely not say that. Just look at the AL West right now. I feel like you have 4 quality teams and 1 really bad team, which we'll get to here in a second. But yeah, anything to add on that, Aiden?
So, I was an Orioles truther, and so seeing this kind of makes me happy. But I was also a Boston hater. I hated Boston's roster. I did say after the WBC that I was kind of up there on Yoshida after not being at first. I don't know. I don't know if I believe in Boston still. I still just don't like their pitching enough to think that they're going to be as good as their record right now says. And Yankees have, man, they have been dealing with some bad injury luck.
Yeah, they started the year with some pretty big names on the IL, and then it just hasn't really improved. We'll talk a little bit more about the big signing they had in a little bit. But yeah, they've been put through the ringer on that end. Moving to the Central, Minnesota hanging out on top at 19-15, followed by the Detroit Tigers at 15-17. So Minnesota is currently over 500, and then the other 4 teams in the division are all under 500. Detroit, Cleveland, the White Sox, and then the Kansas City Royals at the bottom at 8-25. Man, there's not a whole lot to say about this division, I don't think. I think both Centrals have been, aside from the fun story that's going on in Pittsburgh, but both divisions have been kind of lackluster in the Central. Anything that just catches your eye on those teams?
No.
I mean, I like Minnesota. Their pitching right now is kind of overachieving a little. Like, I don't think Sonny Gray is going to keep up what he's doing. But I'm a big fan of Joe Ryan. I like what Pablo Lopez has been doing. They've also got some nice bats on that roster. Cleveland, man. What are they doing? What's happening?
Well, you mentioned Minnesota's pitching is holding on, and like right now they've got a run differential of 28 plus 28. So like they're actually a game below their expected win total. Cleveland has a run differential of minus 20. So they're just not scoring enough runs, man. Like at the end of the day, like their expected win total is 14 right now, 14 and 19. And so it hasn't been like bad luck as far as the numbers say, but when you're going 5 and 9 at home, that's usually not a good way to start your April.
Also, since we're on this division, the White Sox, I kind of gave them a little praise after that first series with Houston. Taking that all away.
Yeah,
pathetic. It's been terrible.
Well, I've got something on them here in a minute too, so don't go too far down that rabbit hole.
Okay. I'll cut it off right there. Then.
Okay. Yeah. But just keep that on your back burner. We'll get back to that here in about 10 minutes. The AL West, Texas currently on top at 18 and 13. The Angels, Houston, and Seattle all hanging out around that 500 mark. Seattle currently is under 15 and 17. And then the lowly Athletics at 7 and 26, currently the worst division in the American League, and a run differential of minus 121. So the wonderful baseball being played in Oakland is still very watchable. Obviously, you guys being Texas guys, me being a Houston guy, we probably have the most that we could talk about in this division. So I'll let you guys take it away first.
You say the worst division? Are they worse than the AL Central?
I mean, at least in the West, we've got 3 teams that are over 500, which is nice. We have
I thought
4 teams with positive run differential.
Yeah, I think the Central's far worse. That's you said the worst in the division.
No, that's not what I said.
I don't know if you were saying Oakland was the worst.
Oakland is the worst in the division.
Okay. Texas, I mean, they've kind of spoiled me and Noah, but the bullpen's got to be figured out. Got to go get someone. Which bullpen arms are the easiest to trade for when it comes to the deadline, and kind of need one or to get one a little bit earlier because it's a big need for us right now. No, I'll let you.
No, you want to go on your little mini rant?
Yeah. So my mini rant of the week. Yeah. What Aiden says, the bullpen, besides 3 pitchers, and one of them had to start yesterday because DeGrom's hurt. Just completely awful. It's like you just put a bunch of little like T-ballers up and say, have at it, kid. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. Like my little Maltese dog could go out there and pitch better than our bullpen. It's a hot pile of garbage that somebody needs to put out. Chris Young needs to put it out. We need to make moves. I want to say we would have 7 or 8 more wins just solely off of our bullpen if they wouldn't suck. So I brought up the idea of maybe, I know it's still early in the season, but maybe looking into our, farm system, maybe, this guy's doing okay. Let's give him a shot. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be a contender this year. I mean, but if that's what the front office is wanting to do, I think we need to act on it now rather than later. So, but other than that, and the bottom of our lineup doesn't, what's the word?
Produce?
Produce, yeah. Doesn't produce at all.
Recently, they've been doing decently. I mean, Duran's back there, and he's been pretty good. Sorry,
Duran has been in the 7th spot, or like the middle of the lineup, yes. But like, I'm talking about like
if Bubba's in, he's not hitting, and Tavares is a question.
Tavares is, and I'm very happy I haven't seen Brad Miller in the lineup in almost like a week or 2. So
I do want to add this, and sorry for going so long about Texas. Before the year started, I kind of went into how the new trend is starting to be need that really good bullpen to be like World Series contender. And like what Noah was saying, we're gonna need that if this front office thinks we're contenders. So that's what the move is now, is getting the shutdown.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying, I think, is not unreasonable. I do find it funny that, Noah's really ranting on the production and the pitching depth when you're atop the league, or you top the division at 18-13 with a plus 68 run differential. Like, things are going pretty good. Like, I know there's been some rough patches, but
Not good enough.
don't jump off the deep end.
I'm not off the deep
But
end.
you would think that if your front office is saying, okay, let's go compete this year, which based off the money that they used last year, the money they used this year, the age of your pitching staff currently on your rotation, you're trying to compete this year, then yes, I do think you can't wait until the deadline if you're going to maybe make some bullpen adjustments, which I do think needs to happen for that team in order to stay in a competition for that first place.
Why don't y'all give us one of y'all's pieces? I mean, we're both Texas teams. I've got a good enough bullpen. It's a fair one.
The Angels sitting at 19-14. They actually have one more win than the Rangers, but they also have one more loss. So their winning percentage is technically a little bit lower. The Angels still holding on. They haven't hit that major injury bug that always seems to strike them, or their pitching staff hasn't fully collapsed. So it'll be interesting to see how long they can keep playing ball at a high level. Houston has been kind of playing that 500 ball, which I thought they would through April. Getting Altuve back should kind of help that out a little bit. Brantley and Altuve are on their way back, thank God. But more on that here in a little bit. Seattle, if you're a Seattle Mariners fan, they probably never want to see Yordan Alvarez ever again because he just keeps hitting nukes against them. But they're sitting at 15-17. The team that was picked to be like as the team to dethrone Houston this year, or to at least finish the wild card, sitting at under 500 over a month in. They do have a +7 run differential, but they're just not winning the games they need to be winning. So it'll be curious to see if they can find some momentum going forward. And then last episode, we talked about the Oakland A's and their move to Vegas and renames and colors. So we probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Oakland Athletics this episode. Any other thoughts on any other teams other than the Rangers currently in the West?
Did y'all talk about the MLB censoring the free Oakland or whatever?
I think that happened after.
Yeah, that happened like the day after we recorded it. So we'll touch.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it real quick.
So of course, they posted the video on Instagram of a home run at the stadium, and they had just censored, got someone to go in and cover all of the posters. And I think that's, I don't know.
Because in the outfield bleachers, there's fans that had sell the team or whatever, on different boards, right? And it looked like on the broadcast footage, it was a wider shot. You could see the fans, you could see the signs. And then on the MLB website footage, it was zoomed in, and then boards were covered up by fake stands. Yeah. It looked like.
I couldn't tell what it was, but yeah, it was. They were covered up, which I thought was ridiculous.
Shifting gears.
The fans, and you should force owners to do something. That's just me. NL Central.
All right, going to the NL. At the East, we've got the Atlanta Braves sitting at 23-11. The only team in this division that is over 500 and has a positive run differential. The New York Mets sitting at 500, but a -3. The Marlins sitting in third, Philly sitting in fourth, and then the Nationals in fifth. The Nationals are actually playing a little bit better than I thought they were going to at this point, so maybe those young guys can keep getting experience for them. Atlanta at 23-11, aside from that sweep that they had versus Houston, they have been just torching everyone, it seems. Their last 10, they're 7-3, including those 3 losses. But you take those away, and you'd be looking at an 8-loss team, which would be pretty salty. Any surprises? I know Philadelphia obviously getting off to a slow start, and then now they're getting Harper back. Talk about him making his debut here in just a few minutes. But any other surprises going on with this division?
I mean, the Braves, like, I didn't know that. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we thought, like, you know, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves are all going to be neck to neck. But honestly, I don't see with the way things are going now, I don't see the Mets nor Philadelphia, you know, biting at the ankles for the lead division here come in the late season. I don't know if they get a hot start or like not a hot start, like a hot streak and just go at it. But Atlanta, dude, they are playing some freaking ball right now. Like, it's, as a baseball fan, it's awesome to see. So I don't know. I don't see. When you asked what the biggest surprise was, I think it's the Phillies. I mean, I know injuries have just, you know, ruined, not ruined, but you know what I mean. But I don't know, man. I thought they were going to be a little bit better than than they had been, but so far they just haven't.
So injuries have kind of taken a toll on my start of the year prediction of both these, or of this division. I had, of course, Braves 3. I had Mets 2 and Phillies 1. Phillies, you know, they started off with some big injuries. They've kind of gotten hot recently, so getting Harper back right now may be really good for them. They started finally, you know, getting them wins racked up. Miami surprised me. They kind of stuck around in that 2-3 spot for a bit longer than I expected them to. And Mets lost Scherzer for a bit because of the cheating allegations. Him getting kicked out of that game. And Verlander just made his first start the other day. Wasn't the best start, but he's going to make an impact. Like, you just got to wait for more than one start. I don't know. I can see the Phillies getting hot and kind of start nipping at the Braves, but right now the Braves have it commandingly. So,
yeah, I mean, no matter what team, what division, injuries you're always looking for who's going to get hit by it, who's going to avoid it, who's going to stay healthy the longest. I mean, that's just sports. But Philly starting the year with a handful of major ones. The Mets starting the year without some of their pitching that they were going to be relying on. Where the Braves had like some short-term injuries, like with Kyle Wright and his shoulder that's flared back up. Still not having Soroka back yet. Like, everyone's dealing with it, but you know, as an organization, you've got to find a way to build your depth and have quality depth in the minors. And the Atlanta Braves are a masterclass of doing that, where some teams are just not yet. So it makes sense to me that they've been able to hold on to it for as long as they have. The Central, I mean, I alluded to it earlier with the Pirates. We talked about them a lot in the last couple of weeks about them being maybe the biggest surprise. But they are sitting at 20-14. So they have cooled off a little bit their last 10. They're 4-6. Lucky for them, though, the Milwaukee Brewers are 3-7 in their last 10. So again, the Central Division's kind of just not been very impressive. The Chicago Cubs have a plus 47 run differential, but sitting in third at only 17-16. I think their expected win total currently is 21-12. So they're probably getting some unlucky opportunities, some missed, maybe it's 1-run games, your home away is getting to them or whatever it may be. But from a run scoring perspective, you know, they're a little underperforming on that end. The Cardinals, man, the Cardinals are sitting 10-24. They have 2 more wins than the Oakland Athletics. We talked about their lineup being a very impressive lineup. It still is. They're not scoring enough, obviously, to win ball games. Paul Goldschmidt is still playing a really strong first base and still putting up really strong numbers. But even one guy as the reigning MVP can't win a game for you consistently. Talking about a pitching reform with the Rangers and their bullpen, I think if the Cardinals are going to bounce back from this and get back to that NL Central crown, they need a major pitching reform, and I don't know how much that is realistic. Anything else on the Central?
They got one starting pitcher, I think. They just got Waino back today, but I mean he's not the Waino that.
It's not 2008 Waino. Yeah.
Yeah. Pirates the thing that worries me about the Pirates, I mean, they're not too far under 500 against winning teams, but they're not at 500. And like, I really want them to keep it going because that's such a cool story, especially with Andrew McCutchen going out there and kind of raking right now. I mean, it's so much fun to watch that. Milwaukee, I think that they're the best team right now for sure. The record is only 18-15, but I really think that they're the best team out there, especially with what St. Louis is doing. Chicago, I believe I called them like my underrated wildcard team, could make it. That run differential, it's looking pretty nice. Like they're a lot better than a lot of people expected them to be.
Noah?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had St. Louis winning the division, and you look at it now, and it's just like, golly, man, I don't know. Pitching is obviously the problem. You got a negative 25 run differential. I mean, you got to hit too. So, yeah, only good thing looking good for him so far is Goldie over there, and I need him to produce some more on my fantasy team. So that's all I have to say about that.
All right.
Is Arenado hurt? I've heard some rumblings about it.
I haven't seen anything that makes me go, oh yeah, we gotta take a look at Arenado, but pull up the stats, see what's going on.
His hitting hasn't been there, and like I've heard rumblings about him being hurt. Hold on. I had to watch that pitch. That wasn't. Oh my gosh, 2 strikes, not called strikes.
Focus.
241 on the year.
Okay.
Sorry. He's hitting 241 right now. He's got 31 strikeouts to 10 walks and only 32 hits. He's almost got more strikeouts than hits.
Yeah, the first month just hasn't been very kind to him, it seems, but I wouldn't hit the injury button on him. Just going through a slump right now. He's still going to produce. I mean, at the end of the day, anything you get with him offensively and his defensive value just is what it is. If he's sitting around 250 and he starts pumping some more slugging numbers, you see more balls over the fence, like it'll all be forgiven for him, I think.
Speaking of defense from a third baseman in the NL Central, is this the year that he doesn't get the Gold Glove?
Team Ke'Bryan Hayes?
Oh my goodness. Ke'Bryan Hayes may take his Gold Glove this year.
I would love to see Ke'Bryan Hayes win the Gold Glove this year.
He's been great over there, man. Like, that'd be crazy. I didn't think it was going to happen for a while, but Nolan may not even be the best defensive third baseman in his division.
I'm taking that home.
All right, to the NL West. The Dodgers have gotten back over the Arizona Diamondbacks finally, sitting at 19-14. Arizona and San Diego both have 18 wins. San Fran at 15-17, and then the Rockies still hanging in there a little bit at 13-21. They're not just like gone, but if they keep going down this road, it's going to get bad for them. The San Diego Padres at 18-15, they have a 0 differential, a full month into the season. So whether it's pitching kind of giving up late runs and allowing teams back into ball games, or if it's just a matter of the offense not really clicking, I know between Tatis coming back and still trying to find his major league swing a little bit, and Soto not quite being Soto, and et cetera, but it's interesting to see a 0 run differential a full month in. You normally don't see that going on.
The big three just hasn't really been hit. It's been Xander's been hit.
Yeah, he's been kind of the saving grace of that team so far.
Can we talk about the I don't know if you want to get into like the rest of the teams, because we can talk about Zach Gallen for a little bit, I guess. He went on that little streak of scoreless innings for like 20-something innings. and then got pieced by the one and only Texas Rangers. Shout out to them.
Were you at that game?
Yeah, I was at that game. That's the only reason that they pieced him.
Mm.
I mean, you got the Dodgers, you got Arizona and San Diego. I didn't think Arizona was going to be this good this year, but they are. And I mean, the way that the Dodgers are playing right now, I know they're 7-3 in their last 10, but they just haven't. I don't know. They haven't just surprised me or like met my expectations, I guess. I don't know. That might be a stupid take, but I thought they'd be ahead big right now in the standings, and they're not. I mean, this NL West race is what I thought the
NL East, yeah,
was going to be. So
that's where I had San Diego, was where you had the Dodgers right now. You had them higher. I had San Diego higher, and it seems we were both, as they both kind of came out and not done what we thought. Is this Colorado like roster? Like, I've looked at it. I think this may be one of the worst rosters I've ever seen.
Well,
like, I'm not. It's not a joking matter. Like, it's they don't have any pitching. They don't have a single starting pitcher. They have Daniel Bard, I guess, but who knows the next time he goes on the IL. Like, I just
remember, their owner thinks they can play 500 ball.
I know, and like. They got Chris Bryant, but Chris Bryant isn't Chris Bryant anymore. I mean, he got his like first home run in Coors Stadium just a couple weeks ago. He's been there for 2 years.
Well, he was there last year. He played like 50 games, got hurt.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's like, when we're done with this, go look at the roster, and you'll see what I mean.
No, I'm with you. I mean, listen, there's a bunch of teams that are still hanging in there as far as contenders, and there's a few teams that are hanging out, I think, that are still pretenders, but their records are still hanging in there a month in. There's some teams that are not. I mean, you look at currently the White Sox, I would say, are just not. The Kansas City Royals are not. The Oakland A's are not. The Nationals are not. I'd say the Reds are not, and the Colorado Rockies are not. They're just not going to contend for anything this year. So yeah, I mean, they've got at least one of the 7 worst rosters in baseball. I think you have to do a hard side by side with Oakland to determine if they've got the worst roster in baseball. But yeah, I'm willing to take a look at it afterwards.
Speaking of Oakland, Fujinami moved to the bullpen, from what I heard or saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the right move for him, honestly. Just with his stuff. I mean, he has some wipeout stuff, but that was his issue in Japan, I think, was like getting through the lineup a second time or the third time, or having some control issues. And so he's probably better suited there than the starting rotation for a team. Which, the experiment didn't quite end. He wasn't the Shohei Ohtani coming over, but he does have really good stuff, and I bet he can be a really good component of that bullpen. He probably is the best pitcher in terms of stuff in that bullpen. Let's get to some headlines real quick. Obviously, the big one this week is Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper comes back, and the Phillies get their big slugger back, the MVP. Everyone loves watching him swing a bat, obviously. But I thought this was an interesting stat line that somebody said. He had come back faster than the Oakland A's had gotten a win from a starting pitcher. So by the time he had surgery, recovered, was back on the baseball field, no starting pitcher for the Oakland A's had won a baseball game.
And they still haven't, right?
And they still haven't. So
that means he's
tough.
Also came back and hit a home run before a pitcher for them. So
tough times. We're gonna not do this because, like I said, that's not one we need to go over. I got a question for you guys because y'all are younger than I am and know a little bit more with the times. Home run celebrations. Do y'all like them or hate them? Like the dugout celebrations?
I'll go first.
All right, hit me.
I'll go first. So I like home run celebrations. Like, they said let the kids play, that whole campaign, like cool and all. It's much more lenient than it was when like Carlos Gomez would go and pimp a home run and then start a benches clearing brawl and get ejected and get suspended for a couple of games. It's better than that. I like seeing it, but like when you say like dugout celebrations, I know you mean like Toronto has the coat, and
Yeah,
Seattle
they did like
has,
the coat. The Boston Red Sox did like the shopping cart thing last year. Seattle has like the trident.
Yep.
The Angels have like the samurai hat thing. Like the dugout celebrations for home runs. Like that's where I'm looking at.
Yeah, I love them. I love them.
Okay.
What I don't like is when Randy Arozarena stops after touching third and crosses his arms, and just that's stupid. I don't like that. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that.
So Randy Arozarena,
he's done that for like every home run though.
I know. It just was a headline. I haven't been paying attention to the Rays or him at all. But I don't like
like
that.
he rounds third before he gets the home. He like stops and then does the shrug.
He does it with his third base coach.
And so
yeah.
But I mean, I like when like Tatis does the like hop step. He like hops back and then touches third. Like it's subtle, it's simple, it's quick. I'm not sitting here like boasting about it. The only thing I did like about that and take away from it was that it was against the Yankees. I don't like the Yankees. Yankees have no souls.
Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But you're a fan of the dugout celebrations.
Yeah, I love them. Love them.
Aiden?
So, like the dugout ones, here's my thing. A lot of people, like the older people, they don't like the pimping and the celebrating out because it's showing up the pitcher. I think the dugout celebration kind of takes that part out. You're not really showing up the pitcher. You're just having fun with your team. And I mean, there's kind of people do that kind of at every level. They just don't do it with like the objects that the MLB players are doing. So I think that's perfectly fine. Don't have a lame one like the Braves did with the big hat. It's stupid. Like get something cool. Like samurai hat's cool. The trident is awesome. Shopping cart was funny. The Dodgers did some stuff. Don't do what the Dodgers were doing. But like Noah was saying, it kind of gets iffy whenever you're rounding the bases and you just stop for a bit. Like make your celebration kind of go with what you're doing. I know there's always the saying, pitcher should have thrown a better pitch. I agree with that until it gets to the point where you're kind of like overdoing it. And I think stopping for a bit is overdoing it.
All right, so I'm somewhere in the middle of the old people hating the pimp jobs and the young people loving the dugouts. Because I love when like Jazz smokes one to the second deck and he's like watches it for a half second and then he puts his head down and then takes off. Or like a guy admiring a 450-foot shot. I'm all about it. Just like I'm all about a pitcher like getting fired up and doing the K strut off the mound in the inning. Like I'm all for it. I don't like the around the bases like stuff while you're inside the baseline. Like I don't really like the Tatis hop back. I don't hate it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. It's just it kind of annoys me. Like I roll my eyes whenever I see it, but I'm not like upset about it. It's more like oh my gosh, this freaking guy, come on, let's go kind of thing. The shrug, like a full stop and like shrug thing that you're talking about with Randy. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but it would probably piss me off a little bit. The dugout thing to me is dumb, and I don't really care if they do it. To me, the reason I think the dugout stuff is dumb is because like take the Red Sox to the shopping cart thing last year. They finished fifth in the division. They were losing a ton of baseball games. They were down in a lot of games where like that home run didn't help or like it didn't like change the outcome of the game, I guess. And then you get into the dugout and we're just acting like a bunch of teenagers in the dugout while we're down 6 runs, celebrating a solo shot with a shopping cart run down the dugout. I don't know. Like you lose me on that personally. Like the home run hats and whatnot. Like I get it that they're cool items and that you can kind of build like a little team camaraderie thing about it. I don't really, I guess, appreciate it for whatever reason. I think they're just kind of stupid little in jokes or something that should maybe be even like more in the clubhouse. Like I'd rather be like the player of the game in your clubhouse, like gets the samurai hat and you do something in the clubhouse for it. That's just me personally. So I'm kind of out on the home run celebrations. I don't mind them, but I definitely don't like them. I think they're just kind of a waste of time personally.
Valid.
I will say this. They also, like, the players know there's a camera watching them in the dugout after home run. So a lot of it is kind of like it is for each other, but a lot of it is kind of to, give the fans something else to look at, something cool to, like, maybe copy or watch.
Yeah, and I get that part of it. I think, like, when you're in the dugout, like, if you go back-to-back with a guy and, like, you do, like, the back-to-back pose and you, like, do a thing for the camera in the dugout, and, like, to me, okay, that's cool because it's, like, something that's like you don't see a whole lot of. There's not just, you don't see a back-to-back home run every week for your team. And so like when those things happen, or like you hit like a game-winning shot or a big home run to take the lead late and you do something a little extra in the dugout, I'm all for that. I think that's great. I just, when you're doing it every time and like you're doing it in like losing efforts, I don't know, man. You just lose me. I think it's silly celebrating that when your team is down because you got your pitcher who's at the end of the dugout who just gave up 8 runs and you are down 8-1 and we're celebrating a solo shot to get back to 8-1. And I don't know. I think it's just kind of silly. But enough on that. I saw that as a headline. Some people were pro celebration. Some people were anti. I figured you guys would be pro, and I'm kind of in the middle on it. So. Which makes sense because I'm in my 30s. Y'all are in your late teens / yeah, y'all are. No, how old are you?
Man, I'm not comfortable with giving that information. No, I'm 19.
You're 19. I didn't think if you were 20 yet or not. Anyway, we'll move on. So last week we mentioned like Yoshida not really being the guy he was in the WBC yet. He is off to a bad start. 4 weeks in. And since that conversation over the last 7 days, Yoshida has slashed 458, 519, 833, hit 2 home runs. And there's very few people in baseball that have been hitting the ball better than Masataka Yoshida since that conversation. And so I think we put a hex on some people, and apparently we took one off of Yoshida because he has been mashing the ball for the Red Sox. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Noah, you had a big achievement on MLB The Show. You want to bring that up real quick?
So after a long day of just like stressing about life and we're on Minecraft for a little bit. Like I was farming some wheat, some carrots, some potatoes, trying to feed the squad, you know what I mean? So I just, I'll take a break, hop on the show. And so it's just after this game that went down, I'm going to explain a little bit. It's just gone up. My team has just gone brazy, if you will. So I hopped in a ranked 1v1. I'm trash at this game. I can't hit. Like a ball will be up in the top of the zone, and for some reason I drag my PCI all the way to the ground. So anyway, so this game goes through seven innings. This guy's a World Series guy, like highly ranked, and I forgot what pitcher he had, but just absolutely shutting me down. I'm pretty sure he had like 9-10 strikeouts by the 7th inning, type beat. And then I was a little naughty and I bunted and I got on base.
Ooh.
And then I finally got a base hit. And then the man himself, that 97 overall Curtis Granderson card,
the Grandy man,
comes up to the plate and just mashes one into right field. I'm up 3-1, right? And so then the inning goes by, and this is where it gets fun. I know I'm taking a little bit, but just hold on.
Yeah, you are.
And so, anyways, so next inning, I somehow get a runner on first and third with 2 outs. I double steal, and he throws to second, and I still home, and I end up winning the game 4-0 against a World Series player. And then after that game, I got a pack, and I pulled a 99 overall Trout.
That boy.
Yes, sir.
Aiden, you played a real professional baseball player this week on the show as well.
Yeah, played Darren Baker. Felt kind of bad because I'm ranked, in the World Series and he's not, and it wasn't a fair game. Made him quit.
He was probably playing up on Hall of Fame because he was probably still playing in the All-Star levels.
He was playing Hall of Fame, and felt bad for him because he had his own card, and I just made his own cards batting average go down.
Hey Darren,
Darren Baker.
When you're not in season and you're not having to deal with playing actual baseball and whatnot, ask Aiden for a rematch, get used to Hall of Fame, and we'll get a fair game going. Some injury stuff. Let's jump into some good news, some bad news. Tyler Glasnow for the Tampa Bay Rays, just what no one wants to see. A Rays pitcher coming back, but looks like Glasnow is going to come back ready to go because he pumped 96 in his first rehab start. And so Tampa Bay Rays are about to get another arm back, which would be good for them because obviously losing Jeffrey Springs when they did hurt. So again, positional depth and organizational depth matters, and Tampa Bay finds ways to keep replacing guys and bring guys back when they need to. But bad news for the Yankees. Aiden, you mentioned that a doctor had called Rodon's back a chronic issue at this point.
Yes. So didn't we hear last year, isn't Trout's also chronic?
Yeah.
'Cause we heard some.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's as bad, but there's no timetable on Rodon's return. They don't have one. They don't know at all when he's going to be back.
I think I read that he got a cortisone shot this week or a couple of days ago, and so they're probably trying to really address that one specific muscle group that is giving him issues. It's going to be some type of muscle chronic illness that is, tougher. Pitchers any rotational athlete's going to have issues coming back to full strength when their back is jacked up, but pitchers especially, if they're not fully ready to go on that end, it can be pretty devastating. So the Yankees could be losing a lot of innings from their big signee that's supposed to be the difference this year for them in the postseason. I'm sure at some point he'll be back this year. Usually a muscle issue and back strains don't last year round. But if it's a chronic issue, it's something that he's going to have to take a lot of maintenance on. The Yankees medical staff's going to take a lot of maintenance on, and that if he's going to pitch for the length of this contract at a high level, it's going to become more and more of an issue of him taking care of his body in a better way than he currently is. Now, he might be doing things at 10 out of 10 as far as, injury prevention and rehabilitation type stuff, but it might be one of those things you have to take up to a new level, have to find that 12 out of 10 in order to really stay on the field. Oh shoot. No, I left off your statistics here.
It's fine. Just keep going. Don't need them.
Eloy Jimenez for the Chicago White Sox is out for 4 to 6 weeks. So, you take one more player out of that Chicago mix. And the White Sox this year, it's one of those things where, I still think from a talent perspective, they have some of the most talented players, one of the most talented rosters, but it's the whole does not equal the parts. It's like making a fruitcake. All these things are good individually, but you shove them together and they just don't work. And I think at this point, you can take some of the blame off of Tony La Russa, which, he was a meme for a while, I think, in the baseball world, but clearly he wasn't the only issue that they were having. I think there was a more deep-rooted issue, apparently. But yeah, it might be time for the White Sox to just full fire sale and start over because lose your biggest hitter in your lineup for another month and a half. It's only going to get worse, I think, for the White Sox at this point.
Front office sucks. They're one of the most injury-prone teams I've ever had the displeasure of watching. I don't know, man.
In the West, Altuve has gotten cleared to start resuming baseball activities, which is big for the Astros. Hopefully getting him back to help anchor the top of that lineup for the long term. We'll start seeing some more wins in Houston for me. But on the downside of Houston, Luis Garcia, who is starting to take a step forward this year pitching, is having Tommy John, UCL reconstructive issue. So all the best for Luis Garcia as he goes through his recovery process on that. I don't think they've set a date yet for his TJ, but I hope that, just from a selfish fan perspective, I hope it's soon, because the longer you wait into this year to get that thing scheduled, the longer into next year you don't see him.
Yeah.
But getting him back is going to be imperative for the next season. Luckily for Houston, I guess Lance is on his way back to the rotation. Should be probably in another month or so, 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be back. So it's not red alert, but that sucks seeing another arm go down for TJ. And then Rangers fans, something to look forward to. Corey Seager's back. What's been going on over at shortstop for y'all since Seager's been out? Give me the rundown.
So they kind of went with a mix of Josh Smith and Duran, and neither of them were really taking the spot. Like, Duran wasn't very good defensively, and Smith was awful offensively. But Duran just kind of started exploding from the plate, and he's pretty much got the spot by himself now. He's been killing the ball since he got back.
300, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Or somewhere close to it.
He's been doing great. And I said it when it happened. A position player pitched to him, and he hit a home run off that position player. And since then, he's been hitting good. So I think that may have had something to do with it.
Did y'all see the position player that came in a couple days ago? He was drafted as a catcher. He's been playing outfield. I forgot what team it was for. I just saw the clip of it on Instagram, I think. But he was throwing like 95 two-seamers, sinkers, like pumping them in there from the mound. It was one of the most impressive things I had seen in a long time, because it was a guy who has not pitched in pro ball. Obviously has a cannon because he was a catcher and whatnot, drafted as a catcher, but it was crazy. He was throwing like arm side runs, sinkers in the mid 90s on a major league mound. It was freaking awesome.
Rise will be calling him tomorrow.
Yeah, probably.
Speaking of the Rangers, because we were just talking about Duran, it seems that they figured out what they're going to do with the reliever situation. Nathan Eovaldi, who pitched a complete game against the Yankees, just came back out in the 8th inning already at 95 pitches. So their new plan is just to not use the bullpen.
See how long those old men can hang on.
See how long until everyone's getting the Jacob deGrom treatment.
But hey, maybe you have high hopes for Nate Dogg, and he's performed well on his numbers have been pretty solid. So as long as he's hanging in there velo wise and he's not losing his bite on his pitches, like, let him ride. Another old guy coming back made his debut. Justin Verlander finally made his debut start for the New York Mets. And you said he had a 5-inning performance, a handful of strikeouts, a couple earned runs on some home runs, which Verlander is a fly ball pitcher, so that kind of makes sense.
That off the top of my head.
Nice. Obviously, he gave one to Javi Baez, so questionable. But even when you leave something hanging over the middle of the plate, when the way Javi Baez swings, like, you always know that he's swinging for that 400-foot shot. So if you leave one floating on him, he can do it.
You basically, if he hits the ball off you threw it to his bat, because he swings at everything, man. Like, I don't know.
A good pitcher who's able to, like, a good tunnel. If you have a good tunnel on Javi Baez, he's probably going to have a hard time at the plate. If you're off your tunnel and you leave something floating, he might have a really good chance of hitting the ball hard against you. But based off of the last 2.5 years, Javi a good sequence tunnel for Baez, man. He gets himself out a lot.
I
And
think
then
he's faking it, to be honest.
he's faking. I mean, during the World Baseball
wants out
Classic
of
for
Detroit.
Puerto Rico, he's crushing the ball.
He regrets it. He wants out of Detroit.
Well, you signed a big contract, so until you get to his opt-out clause, he's not getting out anytime soon because nobody's going to trade for him.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say unless they trade him, but that's not happening. So
One more piece of good news. Liam Hendriks made his return to the mound for a minor league team, pitched a perfect inning in his first outing since beating cancer. So big shout out to Liam Hendriks. He had a perfect inning and a strikeout for the Knights, which I think is the Chicago AAA team. Don't quote me. Might be their AA team. But obviously he's been... since his treatment's ended, he's been working on getting ready, and he's already back to the mound for minor league team, and looks like he's going to be back in the White Sox bullpen soon. It's a shame that their team is not producing any better than what they are for him to come back to, but at least it's cool that he's making his return. Anything that I've missed on those headlines?
I wonder what their opinion would be on dealing him after this start. Could see the Rangers go after him.
Of course you can.
I hope so. I'm not saying we're going to get him. I'm saying we could see them try to get him. Oh my gosh. This isn't like free agency where every starting pitcher was going to be a Ranger. They are next offseason, though.
Yeah, of course. No, anything else to add?
Yeah, I really hope PETA doesn't watch this podcast or listen. Sorry for yelling at my dogs.
All right. The final thing here. Who is your biggest disappointment so far? Is it the Chicago White Sox, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Oakland Athletics, or I almost said the New York Giants, or the San Francisco Giants?
Obviously, the Cardinals.
Your biggest disappointment is the Cardinals. Okay.
Yeah.
Aiden? Or somebody else?
Cardinals. I think it's got to be the Cardinals.
I think my biggest disappointment is the White Sox, only because I think the White Sox have more talent overall than the Cardinals. I thought the Cardinals had a big hole in their pitching staff, and I think that has just become a glaring issue as the season's gone on. So I was hoping that they wouldn't be this bad. They're surprised for sure, but I think the biggest disappointment, because I really thought the White Sox talent would finally kind of click this year, and they just really did not.
Here's my opinion on it. Like, the White Sox, I never thought they were going to be a top two team in the Central. I thought it was Cleveland and Minnesota. I thought Chicago would have three.
Same.
But St. Louis, like, I thought they were a shoo-in for first almost, and they're the worst team in the NL.
Yeah, currently they are the worst team in the NL.
They are.
No, I get it. I put the White Sox third in my preseason ranking for the Central as well, but I did that knowing that they've been underproducing, and like I didn't know if they were going to be able to put it all together just based off track record. And I still felt really good about Minnesota and Cleveland. I thought it was going to be those three teams down the stretch tight. And man, they're just not. They've got a 324 winning percentage, which, you know, St. Louis has a 294 winning percentage. So like St. Louis is playing worse than the White Sox. And yeah, I had St. Louis first as well, but just I really thought, like, from a talent perspective, Chicago could have been the first place team easily in that division. I put them third based off prior performance. All right, boys. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, we'll get back to it a week from today-ish. I've got to get this video edited and uploaded because it's kind of late in the week for us, but not a big deal. And now that school's out for you guys, hopefully that means more content stuff coming your way. So this has been episode 16 of SFC Media. Thank you for watching. See you next time.